Good day, Bhante.
Sadhu.
Good afternoon. Read.
Good afternoon.
You could raise me up a little bit so my head is a little bit higher. That's stage production. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and begin with reciting the Namo Tassa and refuges for those who like to do that. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. So welcome, friends, to this Sunday Dhamma program. And we're continuing on looking at the Dhammapada. And this week we are going over some verses in chapter 10, the Dandavagga. The Dandavagga is translated as the rod or punishment. And so oftentimes when you read sutras, somebody took the rod, that means it's some kind of a weapon, you know, a stick or a tree branch or a sword or something, and, you know, beat somebody with a rod. So it's talking about this kind of corporal punishment using that. So again, I'm going to read the verses in Pali and then go over the meaning and the story. So this is the first verse in the chapter 10 of the Dhammapada, or it's verse 129 in the overall Dhammapada, the first verse in chapter 10. Sabbe tasanti dandasa, sabbe bayanti machuno, attanam upamam kattava, nahaneya nagatai. All tremble at the rod, all fear death. Comparing others with oneself, one should neither strike nor cause to strike. Can everybody hear me out there? I see somebody putting their hand to their ear like they couldn't hear very well. But okay, so all tremble at the rod, right? You ever seen a dog or a cat, if you pick up a stone or a stick and threaten it, they all tremble, right? They cower, they put their tail between their legs, you know, they tremble at the rod. So, of course, you know, anybody else does too, if we point a gun at somebody or so on. So And that comes from the fear of getting a painful strike or the fear of death. And so following the axiom of, or the, the golden rule of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So one should neither strike nor cause to strike. So even telling somebody else to strike or kill a person is almost the same as doing it yourself. And so we know that from, let's say, conspiracy to commit crimes and so on, or hiring an assassin, right? You might not have actually killed a person, but you caused somebody else to do that. So anyway, the reason behind this is, the law of karma. That, like Newton's law, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Now the story is, it seems that there was a group of 6 monks and there was another group of 16 monks. So even in those days, people hung out in cliques. Like even in these days, you can see different gangs, right? Or different cliques of people, a group of 6 people over here, a group of 8 people, or 15 people, they tend to hang out with, those that agree with their ways of thinking. So anyway, it seems that these 6 monks assaulted this group of 16 monks. So they must have been pretty big monks, or pretty confident that the 6 monks would attack a group of 16. And then the Buddha heard about this incident, and then he formulated the rule with regard to that violence. That actually it's a monastic rule for a monk to strike, another monk, even like if you slap them or push them or something like that, it's a breach of the Vinaya rule. So he might have made it up at that time. And there's a comparative verse. I'm not going to chant the Pali, but all tremble at the rod. Life is dear to all. Comparing others with oneself, one should neither strike nor cause to strike. And even not even striking, but making threatening gestures. So the similar story is the same band of 6 monks made threatening gestures to the group of 16 monks, like maybe just, raise something like that. They didn't strike them, but they even did that. And so because of the intention, it could have been carried out. So the Buddha, whenever there was an occasion to, give some statement or make a verse out of some type of behavior, he was doing that. Okay, now we're going to go on to 3 and 4. And again, if any questions on any of these rise up, you can, write them down in a chat or ask them at the end. So I'm going to recite the verses to number 3s and 4. Sukha kamani bhutani yodandena vihimsati atano sukham esano pecha sona labate sukham sukha kamani bhutani yodandena nahimsati atano sukham esano pecha so labate sukham. So the meaning of that is, whoever seeking his own happiness harms with the rod and other pleasure-loving beings, that person experiences no happiness hereafter. And whoever seeking their own happiness does not harm another with the rod, other pleasure-loving beings with the rod, they experience the happiness hereafter. Now, this is a nice little story. The Buddha was probably, walking along the road, and he saw some children molesting or tormenting snakes with a stick. I remember even when I was a kid, we used to torment, the crawdads and other small animals, with a stick, poke them or try to scare them. So again, I speak from firsthand experience that, kids do that. I know none of you ever did that, I'm sure. But so the Buddha saw these children molesting, tormenting these the snakes. And so he advised them not to do that. Otherwise, they would, perhaps in their previous life, in their next life, and be born as a snake or some other creature where they would in turn get tormented by others. And then these next verses 5 and 6 regarding speech. Mavocha parusam kanchi vutta pativadeyatam dukkani sarambat kata pandit danda puseyutam sache niresi attanam kamso upato yata esapato sinibbanam sarambo tena vidyati. Speak not harshly to anyone. Those thus addressed will retort. Painful indeed is vindictive speech. Blows in exchange may bruise you. So I'm sure we've all had some experience with that. Anytime you use some harsh speech to somebody, they're usually going to retort with some even stronger speech back to you, or if they don't use speech, they would, could slap you in the face, or, worse. Okay. So again, all this relates to the law of karma. And then verse 6, if like a cracked gong, you silence yourself, you have already attained nibbana. No vindictiveness will be found in you. Now, of course, it doesn't literally mean that you've attained nibbana in the highest sense, just because you maintain some silence. But the meaning is there. So like a cracked gong, if you, like the Liberty Bell had a crack in it, right? So if they struck it, it wouldn't produce a good sound. So that means we're hearing words all the time, and normally we like to spout out, or we like to shout out our 2 cents worth, especially in like protest marches or other confrontations. If anybody says anything you don't agree with, that urge to immediately, answer back, and then things escalate, right? I mean, that's very obvious. So to silence oneself, that means with having mindfulness, you just let the others speak whatever they're going to speak. And if it's not really necessary, they'll get tired of hearing them speak. Normally we get in arguments when we go back and forth. But if a person says something to you, if it's something that, that's not true, or whatever, or just it's a provocation, just be quiet. And usually the person they might try to say something once or twice more, but if you're not responding to them, they usually just, slink away, or, stop that. So that's what it means, not to have that vindictive kind of urges that are always waiting there just beneath the surface to erupt, especially in the speech. That's why practicing mindfulness of the body is one of the best types of meditation practices as an overall general meditation, because, you know, if everything originates as a kind of a sensation in the body, in the nervous system, like this arising of form that I was talking to somebody about at the beginning. You know, when we hear some harsh speech, we can feel, you know, some muscles in the body tensing up or some kind of physical reaction. So that is like the early warning signal. And so if we're grounded in the body, we'll see it much sooner and clearer, and then be able to say, okay, it's just sound, but no need to shout back at this person, and just to remain centered in yourself. Oh, then there's a story about that verse. So there were some monks who used abusive language towards another monk. So, you know, people tend to think monks are all saints and everything, you know, but we can read that in the Buddha's day, you know, there's all these characters who were monks who were causing all kind of mischief and stuff. Because first of all, a monk is a person with their defilements until they've, of course, reached some higher levels. And so the Buddha had to put up with all this stuff, and that the whole Dhammapada was formulated because of the misbehavior and other things of, you know, monks and of course others too. So anyway, that monk who got spoken to retaliated. And the Buddha heard about it. Everything comes back to the Buddha. Nothing escapes the Buddha's attention. And then the Buddha spoke on the non-retaliation and on the advising them to remain silent. And now, number 7. So we were talking about people, the herdsman the other day, you know, the cow herd, right? Well, this is sort of like a similar verse. Yata dandena gopalo gavo pacheti gocharam evam jara chamachucha ayum pachenti paninam. As with a rod or a staff, the herdsman drives his cattle to pasture. Even so do old age and death drive out the lives of beings. So in this sense, the herdsman is the nature of death that's driving our body, you know, eventually to its grave. And that also, to some extent, is the law of karma. So our accumulated karma, normally the karma that we've brought with us, either from a past life or what we've created in this life, is going to have some effect on the time, in the situation, and how we're going to die, whether you die early, young, or live to be middle-aged or old age. But you know, that the nature of death is always driving us. It's like this, you know, the cow herd is, you know, switching his cows to go in the proper direction and to speed up, or a horse jockey, you know, is whipping the horse, you know, for it to go faster and faster. So the same way, that our karma and death is driving us to old age and death. And so the import of that is to, you know, purify the mind of these kind of negative tendencies that would incur a painful, you know, result. And the story of that is so in the house of Visakha, women of various ages were observing the Uposatha day. Now, Visakha was one of the great female supporters and disciples of the Buddha. And she was a very wealthy woman, so she had, I suppose, a number of women helpers and servants and others living with her, but she would allow them to observe the Uposatha day because she was a good Buddhist. And then when they were questioned for their pious conduct, they gave different replies. So the Buddha had heard these various replies of why these women were doing these meritorious deeds. And the Buddha spoke on the fleeting nature of life. They're doing the meritorious deeds because the time of death is not known. And they want to be ready when the time of death comes with enough accumulated merits and the weakening of their demerits, that when that time comes, they'll be in a better position to have a more pleasant rebirth and to be able to carry on their connection to the Dhamma in the next life. Okay, now we're going to skip over a few verses and go to verse 15. And 16. Iri nisedo puriso kochilo kasming vijjati yo nindam apabodati asobhadro kasamiva asoyata badro kasanivito atapino samvegino bhaveta sadaya silena cha viryena cha samadhina dhamma vinichaya yena cha sampanya vidya charana patisatta pahasatta dukkam idam anappakam. So the meaning of that is, rarely is found in this world anyone who, restrained by modesty, avoids reproach. As a thoroughbred horse avoids the whip. Like a thoroughbred horse touched by the whip, even so be strenuous and zealous. By confidence, by virtue, by effort, by concentration, by investigation of the truth, by being endowed with knowledge and conduct, and by being mindful, get rid of this great suffering. So again, it says, rarely found in this world, even among modest persons who avoid reproach. That means who won't get blamed. But we should avoid reproach like a thoroughbred horse. That means, when the jockey is riding the horse in a race, he keeps on whipping the horse with his little whip to go faster. So the horse, in order to avoid getting hit by the whip, he simply runs as fast as he can to avoid being hit so often with the rope. So in the same way, like the thoroughbred horse touched by the whip, And that means touched by the whip. In the Dhamma, it's touched by old age, sickness, old age, and death. So whenever we're touched with sickness, old age, and death, it's a time to be strenuous in your Dhamma practice, not saying, oh, I'm too tired, I can't meditate now, or this and that. And people get lax or lazy. So whenever you're touched by the whip in this sense means sickness, old age, and death, or by anything else that stimulates any negative reactions to come out of you. So we use that confidence, virtue, effort, concentration, investigation of the truth, and mindfulness to get rid of the great mass of suffering. Now, there's a story on this. There was a poor youth, it seems, whose only possessions were his ragged garment. He had some ragged, clothes that he wore, and a potsherd. It means a clay pot. And he hung them on a branch of a tree and became a monk. So this person must have seen a monk and saw, oh, the monk has nice robes and a nice bowl. Maybe I had to trade in these old dirty clothes and a potsherd. So he hung him up and became a monk. But then he pined for his dirty clothes and potsherd, and he disrobed. So several times he disrobed to go back to his grubby clothes and the dirty bowl. But then again reordered and became a monk again. And so that happened several times because they kind of allowed that in those days. And then finally it dawned on him, he thought of the helpless state he would be in if he were to disrobe again, because there's a limit to the monk's compassion about ordaining people. So they said 7 times at the most, if somebody becomes a monk and then disrobes and then does it over and over and over again up to 6, if they do it a 7th time, the monks are not supposed to ordain him anymore in that lifetime. So this person might have been up to the 6th time and say, oh my gosh, if I disrobe again, the monks are never going to ordain me. So he meditated and attained arahantship. So that was enough to really goad him into practicing seriously. Before maybe he wasn't practicing very seriously. So it said that he meditated and attained arahantship. And concerning his previous discontentment and subsequent striving, the Buddha then uttered those verses on that occasion. Okay, now we come to verse 17, the last one in Dandavagga, and I've often recited this verse. Again, the Buddha and the monks, they were always out, wandering around in the countrysides, and they were seeing just the normal daily things that people did, and they were able to, contemplate the Dhamma. So anyway, I'm going to read this verse. Udakam hi nayanti nettika usukara namayanti te janam darum namayanti tachaka attanam damayanti subbata. Irrigators lead the waters, fletchers bend the shafts, carpenters shape the wood. The wise and virtuous ones control themselves. So, we can see that in this world. everybody wants to control others, don't they? You know, they want others to believe the way they believe, or they want to control others' actions. And of course, an irrigator, he's trying to control the flow of water. So he has to dig a channel here and then block this one and dig another channel. And so he can guide the water where he wants it to go. And arrow maker, you know, makes a straight arrow shaft somehow out of a bent piece of wood. So he straightens the wood. And the carpenters shape the wood into whatever they want to make. But the Buddha is saying, but you know, the wise control themselves rather than trying to control others or other things. And so the story behind this verse, there was a boy belonging to a respectful family who became a monk. And while this young monk was going on the alms round, he noticed the farmers, you know, irrigating the crops and doing what I had mentioned, you know, digging a new channel and blocking off an old channel to bring the water to the crops that needed the water. So he saw him doing that. And he saw carpenters trying to, you know, make objects out of, you know, dead tree trunks and branches and so on. So this induced him to think about the latent powers of man. How many young people do that these days, you know? Actually, I did it. Actually, when I was in college, I started programming computers. This was back in 1967. And I took data processing and computer programming. But then I heard about the meditation. When I studied meditation in the mind, I decided, forget programming these computers. I got to program my own mind, you know, and decided to, you know, that all these things came from our mind. So it's better to investigate my own mind, program, deprogram, and then reprogram my own mind rather than programming computers. So actually, that was one of the kind of contemplations I had, you know, is a determination when I became a monk. But anyway, so this young monk, he meditated strenuously and attained arahantship. Now, I didn't reach arahantship by doing that then, but anyway, this boy did. He attained arahantship. So hearing of his realization, the Buddha commented on the self-control. Rather than trying to control others, it's better to control ourselves. Okay, so let's see if there's any questions that might have come up in the chat group based on those Dhammapada verses. Oh, looks like that's just a comment and not a question. Does anybody have any questions that come to mind? It doesn't have to be exactly about the verses that we just discussed, but it could be some other question concerning the meditation practice or the Dhamma.
There's a comment I have. Looks like there was a lot of heat, like Buddha's with all this verses, he's trying to be asking us to be heedful of all this death, that's aging, different things. So
Yes.
it's just a full chapter on being heedfulness, like to practice it and then.
Yeah, I mean, so much, probably, most of the verses are about that, about, one's unskillful behavior and then being heedful, applying the right effort, able to let go of those, not to repeat the negative actions, and to cultivate the wholesome actions. I mean, that's the whole practice of the Dhamma is based on that. Because, just living, contrary to the harmonious laws, the laws of nature, we go against the laws of nature, and especially those, the 5 precepts are the most, the heaviest type of karmic, the results of those actions are the strongest types of suffering that so many people experience. And so, people are not living by the laws of harmony. So if people were already living, if no one broke any of the 5 precepts in the whole world, then there probably wouldn't be any need for religion even, because, I mean, except for getting old and sick and old, there are all these other types of wars and stealing and crimes and unhappiness and, the painful results, guilt, worry, remorse, and fear from our actions, most people would be quite okay. So that's why the 5 precepts and most of the Dhamma practice is about how to, transform the mind from one of being caught in those, and not only those, there are other types of actions too. So, let me see, there's some other chat that come up in there. The Maranasati contemplation was giving big motivation for meditation, but lost its effectiveness on me now, and laxity is setting in. What can improve the zeal and urgency for diligent practice as I get older and older, closer to death? Well, the fact that as you get older and older, you're going to have less and less energy to practice. So therefore, by contemplating the fact that, ask yourself, am I ready to die tonight? Or tomorrow I may wake up in another life. Am I ready for that? And if you see there's somebody you haven't forgiven, or even forgiven yourself, or you haven't reached some good level of concentration, or let's say even you haven't reached the Sotapanna stage, or once returning stage, then that should spur you on to practice. So but people, they just assume that, well, that's just, I'm going to live another few years, but there's thousands of people that say that and are dead the next day, people with perfect health. So it's just a matter of, asking yourself if you're ready, if you died tomorrow, would you totally accept that and be comfortable with that, in terms of your mental contact. So, and, each day that goes by makes it harder to sit in a good straight posture with less and less pains as distractions. So therefore, while you still have some relative good health and energy, that's when we have to be diligent. And, the familiar story is that, death seems to happen to others. And, I gave the little analogy of when this COVID pandemic started, last year when we first heard about, oh, that's the China virus that, somebody was saying, that's what's happening in China. And then finally a few cases arose in America, then people say, oh, it's starting to come here. But, then it was still in Washington State or someplace, people out on the East Coast, it's not going to come here, right? And they kept on having this idea, right? About, well, we don't need to wear masks. We don't need it. And then finally, it kept on spreading and spreading. And then only when the disease started killing people in their own family or their own town and the hospitals filled up, then they might, well, maybe wear a mask, Maybe I better, not go to parties and social distance. So only then they're thinking about it as they're getting closer to them. So this is the example that people, it takes that imminent fear of death before they, might stop smoking and might stop other kind of bad habits. It takes that sometime, doesn't it? People wait till the very last minute until the worst thing, and then, oh yeah, now I have to do something about this. But the Buddha was saying we have to contemplate this, when we're still young, as we still have the energy to do it. Okay, how to stay in silence when hearing unwholesome verse that we disagree? Well, it depends on the situation. A lot of times you might hear speech, somebody have different opinions, political opinions, this and that. And it depends on the situation. If you're around people that love to get into arguments, if you, respond to them and have in a different point of view, then, you may get into some argument. So it's not any life or death thing. Just be quiet. Don't respond to them. People always want to be the center of attention. They want people to respond to them. If you don't respond to them, they kind of lose their interest. So only if it would be really necessary to respond, or respond in such a way that it would be not antagonistic. And you have to know the people that you're talking to. Of course, you may not always know them, but but that was what the Buddha was talking about. Just by being mindful and not thinking you have to respond all the time to people. Some people just like to talk to hear themselves, and they go on asking questions, over just about anything, and as long as you're answering them, they'll continue a bottomless pit to ask you questions about your life, or your relatives, and where you go, and you can feel yourself kind of getting annoyed by all these questions that or don't really mean a whole lot. So you can just be quiet, and the person will stop asking questions, especially if they're kind of unimportant. So we have to be mindful. I mean, how to do that is to be mindful. And again, mindfulness of the body is the best one. Do some deep breathing. So take some deep, slow breaths whenever you feel yourself getting a little bit disturbed, annoyed by somebody talking too much. Just take some deep, slow breaths and just know, okay, this is just sound, hearing, and, this too will pass. And just try to relax with each out breath, relax your muscles and nerves and so on. How does one confront bullying and other evil that don't respond to anything but force and strength without using strenuous means like the rod? Well, again, that is a very difficult situation. Now we can see that so common now with all these events that have been going on in the last few years with being bullied by, whether it's law enforcement or it's being bullied by different groups, of people and so on. And that's true. That sometimes you have to take action, and that's the only thing people listen to is violence. And so, but there's also, if you do respond with violence, whether it's a speech, you have to expect that then they're going to also respond even harder in their own way. And then it could escalate into something more serious. So, it's a difficult situation, and each person, you don't know how you're going to react necessarily in any one kind of situation. But usually just non-reaction is better than reacting to generate more violence, or to leave a situation. Like the Buddha, he advised the monks and others, don't go to big protest rallies and other things where there's going to be the potential for violence and other types of things. So he advised them, not to go to those kind of places where, that could be an issue. Of course, monks may be practicing in a different way, but, because they want to maintain their meditation practice. Although there have been some monks who went to some of these kind of protests, but anyway, so yeah, the best way is not to react. And usually the bully, they keep on bullying you because you keep on cowering and this and that, and eventually they'll get tired. If you don't provoke a response, they'll get tired and go away. When we meditate, this next question, when we meditate, we are reducing our karma. Is that because we are sending metta to others? Actually, you also create good karma when you meditate. So karma is not just a bad. When you meditate, that's one of the most powerful kind of good karma you create. So it's not that you're not creating karma. You're reducing the negative karma. You have to make a distinction between the negative karma and the wholesome karma. So the Buddha advises to create the wholesome karma until all the negative karma has been replaced, and then we can even give up the wholesome karma later. Like the Arahant, when he's totally purified the ego, his karma is called inoperable karma. That means it doesn't have any result anymore. So it's considered neither good nor bad, because there's no attachment or aversion connected with that kind of karma. So sending metta to others is a good karma. So yeah, in a way that reduces the bad karma, because the mind can only think one thing at a time. So if you're, in hours of meditation where you only have good thoughts or no thoughts, then at least during that hour, there's no negative thoughts or negative karma being created. Of course, normally we can't maintain that, outside of meditation for, too long. That's why the mindfulness is important. So when the negative intentions arise, we have the mindfulness to immediately recognize it and then reflect on it and not to do the negative action. Even if we purify our mind, we are preventing future karma. You're preventing the accumulation of future negative karma. But, until one attains enlightenment, you're continuing to create a good karma. That means good habits. But and then when you attain enlightenment, then because again, it's the ego, the sense of I that is creating the karma. When there's no I, the arhat has transcended the ego, then there's no, those actions don't have any good quality or bad quality to them. Although they're good in the relative sense because they're not doing any negative actions. And as you purify the mind, you can burn the seeds of certain types of past karma too. So the more good karma you create, you weaken and somehow nullify or burn the seeds of certain types of past karma. Especially if you attain the stage of a sotapanna or a once returner, you wipe out big swaths of negative karma, but not certain ones that you would have to experience. So, okay, so looks like that's the end of the question. So thank all of you for joining in, and then now we will take a short break and then come back to do a few yoga exercises, which is good karma for your body. So doing yoga is a good karma from your body because you'll feel better and lighter, and hopefully you'll be able to have a better meditation so that you're creating a good karma in your mind by learning how to stay more grounded and centered in the present moment. That's one of the greatest types of karma that you can cultivate, is ability to know how to continually and come back and reground and recenter in the present moment, because that's when you can actually let go of any negative inclinations to spring into the future when you're grounded and enjoying the present moment. Okay, so I'll take a few minutes break. We'll come back and then have some yoga exercise and our meditation. Okay. And straight. Relax your arms at the sides. Feel your feet pressing the floor. Just gently close the eyes. Just try to feel the feet pressing the floor, the height and the weight of the body over the feet. Just try to feel that outline of the standing body. Then begin some deep, slow breathing, taking 3 or 4 seconds to slowly expand your abdomen, rib cage, and upper chest, holding the air in the lungs for 2 or 3 seconds for all the oxygen to get into the blood. And feel the relaxing contraction of the out breath. Try to feel the last bit of air go out of the lungs while thinking like this to yourself. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. You can open the eyes and follow me as I lead you through these movements. So on the next in-breath, raise the arms over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten the arms, stretch your head back, arch your spine a bit. In the out-breath, turn the hands down, touch the top of the head. Again, in-breath, palms up, straighten the arms, head back, stretch up. Out breath, touch the head. Third time, hold it upward, stretch longer. In breath. Bend back a little bit. Feel the sensation. And release the fingers, the out breath, arms back to the side. Just close the eyes. Just keep the attention focused in the body. Feeling the clothing touching the skin of the body. The subtler sensations under the skin, pulsations. The itchy, prickly sensation. If you can't feel anything like that, just remember standing, standing, just keeping the outline of the standing body, the mind's eye. Just letting go of your thoughts. Just let the thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Keeping the body in the front of the awareness. Okay, with the next in-breath, lift up on the toes and raise the arms over the head in this way, facing the hands toward each other, about 6 inches apart, and stretch. The out-breath, arms back to the side, heels to the floor. Use the in-breath to help lift the body up. In-breath. Stretch. Out. Third time, try to hold that stretch, upward stretch longer. Out. Just relax. Just keep feeling the body. Don't give the mind time to wander to the future. Feel the subtle sensations or the increased heartbeat or pulsations, or any aches or pains. And next we'll do the knee bending. On the in-breath, again, lift up on the toes and lift the arms up front for balance. On the out-breath, bend the knees, lower down, balancing on the balls of the feet. Come down to the squatting position if you can. And a deep breath to push up. Feel the muscles in your legs pushing the body up. And out breath down. In. Out. Stay down a little longer. In breath. Stay up a little longer. Relax. Feel the increased heartbeat, pulsation. And next we'll do side bending using both arms. At the in-breath, raise both arms up over the head. Keep the fingers and arms straight, close to your head. On the out-breath, bend over the right side. Keep the arms parallel to each other. In-breath, lift up. And the other side, out-breath. In. Again to the right, out breath. In. Out to the left. Once more to each side, out breath. In. Out. The out breath, lower both arms. Relax. Especially feel the pulsation in your fingers and hands. You can feel the subtle sensations of the body and feeling more sensations. At the same time, you're awakening the web of awareness. Of the present moment awareness. Now spread the legs and feet apart, 3 feet or more. We'll hold the arms out at the sides. We'll do lateral twisting of the spine. Breathe in. On the out breath, look at the right hand and twist to the right, keeping the eyes focused on the hand going back. In breath, come back to the front. Let your feet turn with the body, and then to the other side, out breath. In breath to the front. Let's continue that alternating sides with the breathing, out breath to the right. In breath, front. To the left. Once more to each side. Come back to the front, lower the arms, relax. Let's close the eyes. Just feel all the increased sensations. Feel each foot pressing the floor. Feel the clothing touching the skin in different places. Okay, now we'll do forward and backward bending, and be careful with the back bends. Don't bend back too far. First time, just let the hands touch the front of your legs. Keep the legs spread apart, wider the better. And breathe in. On the out breath, bend forward, let your hands come down to the knees the first time, but keep your head up, looking out straight ahead. Try to flatten the spine, get the hump out of the spine so you can set a full cup of tea on your back without spilling it. In the in-breath, lift up. Move the hands under the buttocks for support. Let the head go back, gently bend backwards. Keep your eyes open, look up at the ceiling. The in-breath, carefully lift up. And on the out-breath, again, bend forward. Keep the head up, looking out straight ahead. Let the hands come below the knees, about halfway. Try to keep the spine flat. Feel the stretch in the back of the legs. In-breath, lift up. Again, the back bend, out-breath. Try to bend back a little more. In-breath up. And third time, let the hands come down as far as you can toward the feet. Still keep the head up, and then hold that position longer. Feel the stretch in the back of the legs, the hamstring muscles. Feel an in-breath, carefully lift up. And once more, back bend, just be careful. In-breath, lift up. And on an out-breath, just relax. Just feel the whole body. Each foot pressing the floor. Hands touching the legs, clothing touching the body. The head balanced on top. Should be able to feel all those different sensations just within a few second glance. A wide angle lens of awareness, relaxed awareness, body centered awareness. Now bring the feet back together. Do one last simple exercise, the head turning from right to left. On the in-breath, turn your head to the right. Try to look over your right shoulder. Turn your eyes to the right. See something behind you. The out-breath, turn the head 180 degrees back to the left. Concentrate into the neck vertebrae, feeling them loosening up. The in-breath back to the right. Out-breath left. Once more to each side. The in-breath, let the head stop in the center. Just feel the whole body. Just try to feel or imagine the whole body has been washed and bathed with healing life force vibrations, being the oxygenated blood and the muscles stretching. Hoping that just to allow the awareness to rest in the present moment. Standing, standing, standing. Okay, now go ahead and come back to our seats. Get ready for the sitting meditation. your friends, and just sit straight, try to get comfortable in the posture, keeping the spine and the back of the head in a straight line. Try to imagine sitting like a Buddha image. And first of all, just bring your attention down to feel the weight of the body pressing the floor or seat. Try to feel the buttocks and the feet pressing the floor. See if you can notice the right and the left buttock. Sensation of hardness or pressure, the earth vibration. And feel the subtle pulsations in your feet and toes. And these are the material vibrations, material form. And bringing the attention up to feel your hands and fingers. And what you feel are just material vibrations or pulsations that the mind perceives or creates the idea of your hands, which is a perception. Start to feel the outline of your thumbs and fingers. It's like taking a video film of your hands and fingers. Now moving the attention to feel the weight of the arms hanging from the shoulders, where the clothing touches the skin of the shoulders or arms. Relax the shoulders. Also feel the straightness of the back and spine. Try to maintain that natural inward curve of the lower spine. And gently lift the spine and the back upwards. To imagine some space between the spinal vertebrae so the blood and electrical energy can freely circulate through the spinal vertebrae, activating the nervous system. And feel your head balanced on top of the neck. Just feel the skin of the face stretched over the front of the skull. Feel the lips touching together, the upper lip touching the lower lip. Feel any sensation of dryness or moistness in the lip. In the water vibration. Something feeling dry or moist or fluid. And feel the tongue laying in the mouth, where the tongue might touch any teeth or the sides or roof of the mouth. Moving the attention to feel the eyes and the socket, and the eyelids stretched over the eyeballs. Just kind of gaze at the eyeballs with the inner gaze of awareness. Feel the subtle eye movement. You might see some color or light or a mental image or just darkness. That's seeing with the eye of awareness. The eye of awareness is like your own inner video camera. You can move it to feel any parts of the body that you wish. So just try to feel the different areas of your head. Feel the forehead and the nose, the lips and mouth. All those sensations. And just imagine kind of opening up the lens of that camera to a wide angle to feel the rest of the body. Just try to feel the outline of the sitting body. Just try to hold that outline of the sitting body in the mind's eye. In the eye of awareness. And then begin taking some deep, slow breaths to oxygenate the blood and to help ground the tension in the body. After breathing in, hold the air in the lungs a few seconds. Begin to oxygenate the blood to activate the subtle vibration. And feel it. Relaxing sensations of the out breath. Just continue to take several deep, slow breaths, cultivating this basic mindfulness. And breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. and feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to count the breaths from 1 to 10. Try to develop a more continuous attunement to the breathing. Try to continue to take deeper breaths if you can. And with the next expanding in breath, mentally count 1. Hold the breath in for a couple of seconds. And with the contracting out breath, count 1. Feel the last bit of air going out of the lungs. Then the next in breath, 2. Out breath, 2. In breath, 3. Out breath, 3. In breath, 4. Out breath, 4. In breath, 5. Out breath, 5. In breath, 6. Out breath, 6. In breath, 7. Out breath, 7. In breath, 8. Out breath, 8. In breath, 9. Out breath, 9. In breath, 10. Out breath, 10. Now discontinue the counting. Discontinue any deeper controlled breathing. Just letting the breathing go back to its shorter, uncontrolled movement. But continue to feel it. Keep the camera lens of awareness zoomed in to the center of the body. Feel the subtler expanding and contracting sensation, the feelings of the clothing rubbing against the stomach, rib cage, or chest. And just knowing when the breath is coming in and knowing when the breath is going out. And knowing is the awareness, the concentrated awareness. Feeling all the subtle movement. Try to observe the 4 phases of the breathing, the expanding in breath, the brief pause, the contracting out breath, the brief pause. Noticing how each breath is different. Sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. Sometimes the in-breath is longer than the out-breath. And the out-breath is longer than the in-breath. Or the pauses in between are longer or shorter. Breathing is regulated by the state of our body and mind. Just be like a scientist sitting in the laboratory. This body is this laboratory of the meditator, of the insight meditator. Just continually remembering, breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting. The pauses between the breaths, feeling the outline of the sitting body. Within that sitting body, all those sensations are the material vibrations of the earth, fire, water, air element, which in themselves are just cellular vibration. It's cultivating that continuous, concentrated awareness. The present moment awareness, grounded in the sitting body, the sitting, breathing body. Being centered in the sitting, breathing body is the ground zero for understanding the mind, for understanding sensations, perceptions, thoughts, consciousness. Being aware of any hindrances blocking that awareness, drowsiness, desires, aversions, restlessness, doubt. Just balancing the factors of mindfulness and concentration. The concentration is the ability to hold the attention, remembering the breathing body. The mindfulness is the background alertness for hindrances or wandering thoughts or other distractions trying to block the concentration. Mindfulness helps you to develop concentration. The concentration helps to develop the alert mindfulness. They're mutually supportive. If the mind is calm enough, start to recognize the five aggregates. This is material form, this is perception, this is feeling, this is mental activity, this is the ego consciousness, thoughts of I, me, or mine. It's opening up to the flow of impermanence, seeing how quickly all those sensations, feelings, perceptions, thoughts continually arising, lasting a moment or two, vanishing. The mind gets caught up in thinking, recognize it as thinking, gently let go of the thought. Take a deep, slow breath, bring the mind back into the body. Back to breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Breath by breath, moment by moment. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Sensations come and go. Pleasant and painful feelings come and go. Perception, names and labels come and go. Thoughts and emotions come and go. Ego consciousness comes and goes. These are all just a continuous flow of change and impermanence of the five aggregates through this body-mind awareness, through the present moment awareness. If we lose that connection to the breathing body, the present moment, the mind gets easily pulled under, distracted, carried away by these waves of conflicted emotional thoughts, drowned under the weight of our sorrow. The balance of concentration and awareness, mindfulness, helps keep the mind afloat, just riding the waves of awareness like a beach ball, just riding the up and down waves of the but without getting sunk underneath. Gobbled up by a shark. The mind just floating, riding the waves of impermanence, effortlessly. Without taking sides, choosing. I want this, I don't want that. Everything is impermanent. It changes by itself, you don't have to do anything. Except be aware, letting go. What perceptions or thoughts arise based on that sound vibration? Depending on contact arises feeling, perception, thought. Yo cha vasa satam jive dusilo asamahito ekaham jivitam seyo silavanta sajayino. Better than living for 100 years without self-control and a muddled mind is living but a single day, well-disciplined and meditative. And thus spoke the Buddha. Now let's spend the last couple minutes of the meditation just sending out thought vibrations of metta or friendliness, best wishes toward our own body and mind and all other beings. So again, just begin taking a few deep, slow breaths. And after feeling that expansion of the chest, hold the air in the lungs as long as you comfortably can. Or imagine or feel that life force of oxygenated blood going out to all the cells of the body on the out breath. Feel that relaxation of the body, mind, nervous system. Just cultivate this train of thought to yourself. May I be well, peaceful, and wise. May I be free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance, attachments, aversions, worries. May I have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. I continue to deepen my understanding of the Dhamma and practice of meditation. Help free the mind from confusion and suffering. May I be well, peaceful, and wise. And with each out breath, just imagine sending them these waves of these metta thought vibration to your parents, family members, even if they've passed away, wherever they might be in samsara. Just with each out breath, imagine these waves of metta going outward. Other relatives, friends, colleagues at work, neighbors. Again, with each out breath, these waves of metta going across the countrysides, through the towns and cities, eventually across the whole country, beyond the ocean, eventually to surround the whole earth. These thoughts of metta, best wishes. May all living beings, wherever they might be, whether living near or far, the weak or the strong, rich or the poor, may all living beings be free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance. May all beings be free from pains and sufferings of body and mind brought about by their unskillful thoughts and actions. May all beings have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. May all beings be able to hear the teachings of the Dhamma and to practice meditation, to to free their minds from confusion and suffering. May all living beings be able to live peacefully and harmoniously together, understanding the ultimate interconnectedness and interdependence of all things. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. Just like a mantra reverberating throughout space. Well, peaceful, and wise. Friends, to end the meditation, I invite you to chant the word sadhu 3 times slowly with the breathing. So take a deep in breath. Just place the hands at the edge of your knees and take one more deep breath, stretching the head back. Pull the hands against the knees to arch your spine. And lift the head up on an in-breath, and on the out-breath, press the chin to the top of the chest to stretch the neck vertebrae. And the in-breath, lift the head up level on an in-breath. Relax on the out-breath. Put a smile on your face. Okay, friends. So this brings our Sunday program to an end. And again, mindfulness should never end. During the week, keep up your daily practice as well as your hourly practice of the M&Ms if you can, meditation supplements. And we'll see you back either on Wednesday evening for the Sutta class or next Sunday.
Namo Buddhaya Bhante.
Get mindfulness today keeps dukkha away.
Thank you, Bhante.
Sutta a day keeps delusions away.